So we want to start, obviously, with wishing hope and luck to the people in the East Coast with Hurricane Sandy. A lot of hope and a lot of luck. We are Monday night right now, and it's Monday morning in the States. So, batzlacha. Last 3 or 4 weeks, we dealt basically with the opinion of the philosopher. Now, actually, if you learn the Kuzari and the Seder, you will see that afterwards, the Kuzari starts and speaks about the opinion of the Christian and the Muslim. But compared to the philosophers, the way the philosophers presented, the Christian and the Muslim are basically, it's funny. You have like 5-6 lines on the Christian and then a rejection, and 10 lines on the Muslim and then a rejection. And there's a reason for that. Because the Kuzari deals a lot with the claims of Christians and Muslims during the book itself. But that's not the goal of the Kuzari. The goal of the Kuzari is basically to present the opinion and the faith of Am Yisrael by its own. So I want to jump a little bit to the part where the king meets the Jewish rabbi, and that's in Ot Yud. Ma'amar Rishon Ot Yud. After the king speaks with the Muslim and speaks with the Christian, he realizes that also the Muslim and also the Christian present the Jewish religion as the base. Jewish religion as a base to Christianity and to Islam. And he says what? His instinct was not to speak with the Jews. Why his instinct was not to speak with the Jews? Because he looks in reality and he sees what happens in reality. Jews are what? They don't have a state, they don't have a country, they are not rich. Everyone basically are being cruel towards them. So there's no reason to speak with the Jews. He says, I can check reality and understand who is right and who is wrong. But then he's realizing that if he wants to figure out the presence of God in the world, he needs to speak with the Jewish religion, because the two big religions that do believe that God has connection to the world, both of them give the Jewish religion as their base. So let's see. Yeah.
למה הוא שאל את הפילוסוף קודם? כי גם פילוסוף זה משהו מאוד שולי.
So Gilad is asking why does the king ask first of all the philosopher? Because Gilad says the philosopher is what? You have way more Christians and Muslims than philosophers. Gilad is right. But the philosopher is unique and important and special because the philosopher is basically the common ground. The philosopher has a faith in God. He believes that there is a God, and he has a common ground that is common also to Christians, also to Muslims, also to Jews, as the fact that there is a God. And it's easy to battle a faith. It's easy to litvakeach im dat. It's easy to battle a faith. Because you can say, that's my belief, that's your belief. You can, if you have a faith in something that is based on a miracle, so you want to see a proof to the miracle, it's easy to battle a faith. It's complicated to battle logic. Basically, also, the entire book in some ways has in the background the words of the philosopher. The logical words of the presence of God. We'll see soon, just in Ot Yud Bet, how the Kuzari starts to deal with the words of the philosopher on the beginning. Rabbi Yehuda Levi takes the word of the philosopher and basically rejects them on the beginning of the claim of the chaver, of the rabbi. We'll see that soon. So to summarize my answer, the philosopher is a common ground, and his claim is more complicated for us. Because if we need to be honest, his claim is logical. And since it's logical, it's something that we need to put out of the game on the beginning. Okay? So now let's see. אמר הכוזרי, רואה אני, כי אכן אין לי לשאול כי אם את היהודים, שהם שארית בני ישראל. רואה אני, כי הם ההוכחה לדבר, כי כי אכן יש לאלוה תורה בארץ. So first of all he says what? I need to ask who? I need to ask the Jews. Why? שהם שארית בני ישראל. Look carefully what he says over here. The Jews are not what? The Jews are not Bnei Israel. Why the Jews are not Bnei Israel? No, not because they're not in the Eretz Israel. Because, to be honest, they are not Bnei Israel. They're Bnei Shevet Yehuda. They're Bnei Shevet Binyamin. Am Israel, Bnei Israel were lost. 10 tribes got lost, right? The Jews are a small part of the original Bnei Israel. But Bnei Israel, according to the Kuzari, הם להוכחה לדבר, כי אכן יש לאלוה תורה בארץ. What are Bnei Israel? And the Jews are as grandchildren, basically, or as a great-great-grandchildren of Bnei Israel. Bnei Israel is the proof that God has what? Torah. Listen carefully. He's not looking to prove what? He's not looking to prove the presence of God. He's not looking to prove the existence of God. The existence of God has no matter over here. That's not a question. Remember, we're speaking on the king. The king, he had a dream. He had a dream that God spoke with him. Kadosh Baruch Hu diber im HaMelech. The malach at least, the ambassador of God, and told him, Kavanatcha retzio ma'asecha lo ratzui. He has no questions regarding what? Faith. He knows that there is a God. מה השאלה שלו? האם לאלוה יש תורה בארץ? Does God has what? A Torah over here, in the ground, in the world. You need to understand that. We need to focus the question of the king. So let's see. אז שלח לקרוא לאחד החכמים היהודיים וישאלהו לאמונתו. So he sent to bring one of the Jewish scholars, and he asked him for his his fundamentals of faith. אמר לו החבר, אני מאמין באלוהי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, אשר הוציא את בני ישראל באותות ובמופתים ממצרים, וחלקלם במדבר, והנחילם את ארץ כנען, אחרי אשר העבירם את הים, את הירדן, באותות ובמופתים רבים. באשר שלח להם את משה בתורתו, ואחריו אלפי נביאים, שכאשר קראו אל תורתו, ביעדם שכר טוב לכל שומרה ועונש, לכל עובר עליה. אנחנו מאמינים בכל הכתוב בתורה הזאת, והדברים ארוכים. Let's start and analyze what the Chaver answered. The Chaver said, I believe in what? In the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The same God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov took out who? Bnei Israel from Egypt. And he took him through the desert to Eretz Canaan. And then he sent Moshe and the Torah to Bnei Israel. And then he sent thousands of prophets. And all of them read the Torah and taught us the concept of Sachar Va'onesh. So if you want only to analyze the fundamentals of faith in the eyes of the Chaver, are this way. A. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. B. Yetziat Mitzrayim. C. Moshe Rabbeinu. Torah. D. Nevi'im. And then at the end, Sachar Va'onesh. A nice answer, right? What is the problem with the answer? Yeah.
I mean, can't Sachar Va'onesh be learned throughout those? Why is it its own separate entity?
So Naftali is asking on the fundamental of Sachar Va'onesh. Give me a different question. It's a wonderful question. Kuzari, the Rabbi Davi will speak about it. But give me another question. What is the problem with this type of perspective?
You're still leaving out parts of the Tanakh.
What do you mean?
I mean, you said you start with Avot, correct?
Yeah.
There are parts before the Avot.
So now Naftali is asking the basic question. Naftali says, one second, you believe in what? In the God of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We just saw Avraham is the first believer. נכון? ויאמין בהשם, ויחשביה לא לצדקה. And over there your faith starts.
It becomes national faith.
So Gdala is asking, Gdala is saying, it becomes a national faith. The king is over here to ask for a solution. He wants a solution to what? To his problem. God comes to him and tells him what? And the Chaver comes and tells him, you know what, I believe in a God, but that's only my God, not yours. That's the God of the children of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that took my ancestors out of Egypt, gave us the Torah, and afterwards, Moshe Rabbeinu and prophets. It has no connection to who? To the king. The king can't relate to this type of answer. He is looking for a solution. But now let's be careful. For what the king asked, did he ask for a solution? No. He asked for what? The fundamentals of belief, the fundamentals of faith. So Chaver gave him an answer. These are my fundamentals of faith. Obviously, he makes the king mad. And the Kuzari says, the king says, לא חינם החלטתי בראשונה לא לשאול את היהודים. He says, I see that my decision in the beginning not to ask the Jews for an answer was a good decision. I was right. מדעתי כי שלשלת הקבלה אצלם נתקע מכבר ודעתם התמעטה כי דלותם לא נכלה מידה טובה. Because they knew, since they are so poor, and since they are all over, they are scattered all over the world, they don't have שלשלת קבלה. No one actually taught them what is right and what is wrong. They're stupid. And then he tells him, וכי לא היה לך לאמור, אתה יהודי, כי מאמין אתה בבורא העולם ומסדרו ומנהיגו? You should have started how? That you believe in what? In God, the creator of the world. God that puts the world in order. הוא אשר ברכה. He created you. והוא המטריף אבך לחם חוקך, and he gives you bread. וכדומה מנתרים אלוקיים, and all this stuff, other stuff we describe God. בהם יאמין כל בעל דת. Every person that has a religion believes in this stuff. And even more important. ובגללם שואפו אל האמת ואל הצדק. ברצתו להידמות לבורא בחוכמתו ובצדקו. He says, it's not I'm saying it's stam, that it's more logical to start how? From the creation of the world. That's the main point of the word of the Kuzari. He says, what is the source of our behavior? What is the source of the religious behavior? Of the religious customs? The king comes and presents an idea. The source of all religious customs is what is the faith as a creator. And since there is a creator, you want to do what? You want to behave like a creator. You want to behave as Borei Olam Manigo. That's the reason. Biglalam shoefu el hamet ve'el hatzedek. Because the God is a creator and has all of this stuff, all of this names, all this stuff he does in the world. Because you want to be like God, you're what? Shoefu el hamet ve'el hatzedek. You want to behave in a righteous way, in a trustworthy way, because you want to be like God. Now we understand that the question of the king is really deep. It's not a dumb question, you didn't speak about me. You didn't speak, you are so national, so you didn't see me at all. It's a different question. The question basically means how you can speak on the Torah when you don't put in the center who? God. Because listen carefully. The Kuzari, the Chaver put in the center who? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Am Yisrael that went out of Egypt. Moshe, the prophets. All the stuff God did to us. Elokim lo nimtza ba'emtza. According to the perspective of the Chaver. And the king comes and says, that's a scandal. What do you mean that God is not at the center? Since God is the creator of the world, and since God is good, I want to be like God. How you can put yourself in the middle? Makes no sense. After we truly understand the question of the king, now we can start and explain. Chaver has the opportunity to explain. Yud Gimel. Amar Chaver. מה שאתה אומר נכון הוא בנוגע לדת המיוסדת על ההיגיון ומכוונת להנהגת מדינה. דת הנובעת אומנם מן העיון, אך נופלים בספקות רבים. He says what? He comes to the king and tells the king, you know what? You're right. 100%. That's perfect. You are right. The source of religion, the way you understand it, is God, the creator of the world. You know why? Because you can accept logically the concept of a creator. We spoke about it yesterday a little bit, and I will say it again. Logically, a philosopher can claim that God does exist. How we can claim that? From the concept itself of God. As human beings, we understand stuff that appears, you understand stuff that are created from something else. For example, if I have over here this mic, so we understand that someone created the microphone. Someone had knitted this kippah. Someone created the shirt. We do understand that. We understand that every outcome has a reason, right? We can't understand by ourselves what? A concept of something that has no beginning, no reason. And if that's true, all of us will need to ask ourselves where the concept of God appeared in our head. And the obvious answer will be that there is a God. There is a tradition on the God that created the world. Wonderful. That is a wonderful proof. But Kuzari said that is a logical proof, and it's not enough. Why it's not enough? First of all, because it's not an ultimate proof, right? Even if I'll come to you and I will tell you there is a God, and how I know that there is a God, and I will say the claim I just said right now, you will tell me that is wonderful, but I still have doubts, right? You'll tell me you didn't solve my doubt at all. You said beautiful words. You're really smart, but doesn't help my religious world, doesn't help my religious actions. You didn't solve my misery. I still have trouble. I still have trouble in believing. That's a fact. Some nice words are not enough. But even let's say that everyone accepts the nice words. So what is the goal over here? To be like who? To be like the God that created the world, that is righteous and honest. Emet v'tzedek. What is exactly emet v'tzedek? Who can define to me what is emet v'tzedek? What is truth and what is righteous? You can be sure that in any given place, you will come to two people and you will ask him, explain to me the terms emet v'tzedek. You will get from two people 4 answers. Because you're all yeshiva boys and want you to do tzvei dinim. There's no way to define emet v'tzedek without having what? A machloket, right? Everyone in the world is seeking to define what is righteous and what is not. There are now elections in the states. Elections. There are elections in Israel also. There's a machloket. There's a machloket. What is the correct way to go? Who can say that one way is more tzedek than the other? Maybe you have your netiyat lev, your desire to what? Your desire to go according to the Democrat perspective, to the Republican perspective, to the Likud, to the Avodah. Maybe your heart, even your logic pushes you towards one side. But your friend can think exactly the opposite. What makes you a better candidate to define what is emet? What makes you a better candidate to define what is tzedek? If you tell me that what you ask from a human being is to behave according to the emet v'tzedek, behave like God, do emet v'tzedek, so you know what will happen? Everyone will try to be good, and then what will happen? Chaos. And if not chaos, a lot of machlokot. You will find at least 100 ways of defining what is the emet and what is tzedek. That's a fact. You need to realize that. And he comes. The chaver comes to the king and tells him, you know what, you're 100% correct. Let's go. Let's follow through emet v'tzedek. Well, but let's see what happens. He says, that is true only for a religion that believes in God, the creator of the world. That's wonderful. And people are trying to mimic God. ואם עליה תשאל את הפילוסופים, לא תמצא הם מסכימים על מעשה אחד, לא על דעה אחת. כי דת כזאת בנויה על טענות אשר רק חלק מהם יכולות הפילוסופים להוכיח במופת. ואילו על אחרות ניתן להביא ראיות מספיקות בלבד. ויתרנן להביא עליהם אפילו ראיה מספקת, אף כי לא הוכיחן במופת. He says what? This type of religion is based first of all on what? On actions, right? Actions mimicking God. How you will define if that's a correct action? You'll use your logic. You will give a proof. What happens if your other friend gives a different proof? He says, the fact is that all the philosophers wanted to do what? To behave in the righteous way. He said, you can't find two philosophers, two religious people, religious figures that behave exactly the same. It doesn't exist. There's no code. There's no law. And the chaver comes to the king and tells him, you know what? Your problem is not faith. Your problem is that you know God already, but you don't know what to do. You want to stay in a problem? You want to stay with the question of what to do, what not to do? No problem. You should start speaking on the God that created the world. But to be honest, it will bring you nowhere. Because your faith will get stronger, and your actions will still be in the clouds. You'll have no clue, no idea what's actually happening. The king hears that and stops. Something snaps. He understands that the chaver is offering a different perspective on the world. And I need to explain. Also as a philosopher, also as a Christian, also as a Muslim, they come with an ideal that is good for who? For everyone. For the entire world. In some ways, even for the entire cosmos. Right? Be a good Christian. Every human being needs to be a good Christian. Every human being needs to be a good Muslim. The chaver says, I don't have this type of ambitions. I'm not speaking on the God of the entire world because, to be honest, I truly don't believe that God gives orders this way. I truly don't believe that God can give an order. He can't, obviously he can, but I truly don't believe that God did give an order to the entire world together. At least not a set religion, not a Torah as you're looking for. A Torah is connected by nature to a smaller group, to a group that has a common background. And the king understands that he came into no more land. That everything that he knew before doesn't exist. There's nothing. He totally changed, this small claim totally changed his perspective. The king looked to be what? Looked for an action that will be good for everyone. And the Chaver looks at him and tells him, I don't offer that. We don't sell that in our kiosk. We're a boutique store. We sell stuff only for vegetarians. You want meat? Go to Zazi's store. We are truly specific. Why is that so important? We'll see in a moment. So the king is really impressed. Now I understand what you mean. And now I want to listen to you. The Chaver says, no problem. I want to explain to you a little bit more. And now let's jump to Yutet. And now we're starting the first mashal, the mashal on the king of India. Why India? Because back then India was an exotic place, far, far, far away beyond everywhere. Okay? Exactly like who thought? Who thought that India is a far, far place, exotic, and when he got to the States, he got confused. And what? Columbus, yeah. Everything that is new, that is exotic back then was what? India. And that's the reason the king of India. Let's see. אילו אמר לך, אילו אמרו לך, כי מלך הודו איש חסד הוא, עליך להריצו ולהגדיל שמו ולספר מעשי חסדו, וכל זה רק לפי שמו שהגיע אליך, על דבר צדקת אנשי ארצו ומידותיהם הטובות ומשא ומתנם באמונה. האם היית רואה צורך נפשך לעשות כן? He's asking a simple question. If someone will come to you and tell you that the king of India is the best. He is a great king. Not only that he's a great king, he is righteous. And you need to praise his name. And to tell everyone how awesome he is. And that's only based on what? Something that you heard. You heard that the king of India is great, is good. You never saw it, you never felt it. You never imagined even the king of India. It came from out of the blue. What you would say? Obviously, the mashal over here, who is the king? The king is God. If someone told you that there is a God, then you need to praise, you need to look unto God and tell him what? God, I believe in you. I want to follow your guidance. I want to be exactly like you. Someone would tell you that. What you would say? You would say no. Some people nod their heads over here. I want to stop over here for a second and to say that the answer to this question is not so simple. That is no. Let's understand why. Someone comes to you and tells you that there is a God. He introduces you to this concept of a supreme power. A supreme power that is what? Universal. A supreme power that maybe you can't see, but you definitely can feel. It sounds a little bit different, no? And it tells you, you want to be united with this supreme power? No problem. Feel him everywhere. Look over here and look over there, and Hukani is over here. What you would say then? Sounds a little bit different the way I presented the question right now, right? Someone will come to you and tell you that this universal concept of God can unite the world. You only need to open your eyes and say, yes, I do believe. Maybe you never met God. Maybe someone came to you out of the blue But still, it's appealing, right? It's appealing to have one concept that unites everyone. It's appealing to adopt on yourself a concept that is connected to every human being, doesn't matter who he is and where he was born. You need to understand against which type of philosophy the Chaver is trying to fight against. You need to understand. Let's say it a little bit in different words. Someone comes to you and tells you everyone are equal in the eyes of God. A sense that everyone is equal in the eyes of God, there's X, Y, Z stuff we need to do. And we will seal them in a constitution. What you would say then? That's wonderful, right? I would sign it in a second. The Chaver comes and says no. The Chaver comes and says, wait a moment, wait a second. On which God you're signing exactly? On which type of philosophy you're signing over here? Are you willing to go after this cosmopolitical God? I'm not sure. It's not so simple. It is appealing to say that we are all the same, that there's one thing that unites us, and therefore to find this one thing, to find this common ground, and usually a common ground is really wide, and to say, you see, we're all connected, we're all the same. Chaver comes and says, one moment, 1 second. Listen carefully to what this offer means. And now the king answers. אמר Kuzari, מדוע הרי צורך כזה לנפשי? הייתי מטיל ספק בדבר. אולי צדקת אנשי יהודו מצד עצמם היא? אף ייתכן כן להם מלך כלל. אולי באמת מצד מלכם היא? ואולי משני הצדדים גם יחד. The king comes and says, and we'll say it again, well, first we'll explain the mashal, and then we'll say it in our day's words. He says what? He says, the fact that the people of India behave nicely doesn't mean anything about me, right? The fact that they are righteous people doesn't mean that they actually have a king, because I never saw the king. Doesn't mean that they actually have a have a law, because maybe they don't. I don't know. And now it's said in different words. Listen carefully. The fact that you have human beings that behave in a proper way doesn't mean that there is what? There is a God. Even that they claim that there is a God. The fact that there are human beings that are good and righteous is not connected at all to the presence of God in the world. Maybe the human beings are good and righteous because they're what? Because they're good and righteous. Because they have a good heart. Because they're kind. Who says? You can't look on the actions of human beings and prove from that what? That there is a God. That's not the point. Let's go to the next step. אמר החבר, אולם, אילו באו אליך מלכי המלך ההוא בתשורות אשר אין להטיל ספק בדבר כי נמצאות הן אך ורק באומנות מלכי יודו. ובמכתב אשר ברור לך כי רק עם מלך הודו. ולמכתב מצורפים סמי תרופות המרפאים אותך מכל מדביך, ושומעים בריאותיך, ושמים עבד לאויביך, וכל הלוחמים בך, אשר תפילם בצדך לקראתם בלא חיילות ובלא כלי מלחמה. האם את החיוב אז אסור משמעתו? Every time when I read this part, I think about Harry Potter. And I'll explain why. The first book of Harry Potter, Hagrid, that's the name, takes on himself a mission to do what? To convince Harry Potter that there's such a thing of witchcraft and wizards, right? It's not so simple. He comes to him and tells him, look, that's a letter. And Harry Potter comes and tells him, basically, you need to go to a closed institute. because no such thing as witches and wizards. Harry Potter didn't believe until what? He saw in his own eyes. Now, was that a simple move? No. And I'll explain why not. Especially for Harry Potter, it was stuck somewhere in the movie and the book on the island, was the sea clashing all over, and then this huge giant comes inside and tells him, I came to save you. What would be your instinct? You're offering me a better world. You're offering me you're offering me an outlet from my misery. I'm going with you. But the real answer is, yes, you're offering me something, but what exactly? Give me proof. Explain. A lot of, we call it רוחניות בשקל. ספרים של תחנה מרכזית. Books, you see, you go today to Barnes & Noble, you go today to Stimatsky, you go to any common bookstore, there's a huge area of what? Religion. You open the book, and usually what you see? Martial fluff. In words, but it's fluff. It speaks on the cosmic Gaia, it speaks on cosmic love, it speaks about what happened to me. Okay, it speaks about how to find a better place. Wonderful. It's really appealing. Especially when your life is in a tower in the middle of the sea. And again, that's a place to wish good luck to the people that are going through the storm, and our davening prayers are really together with them. But especially if you're in a tower in the middle of the sea, in the middle of nowhere, everything, you look over here, look over there, everything looks so crazy. It's appealing to go after this king of India that offers you a better life. But the king is teaching us a critical thinking. He says, don't go after charlatans. Don't go after people that promise without what? To give you a proof. A real proof. Not a proof, look on me. A real proof. And that's exactly what the Chaver is offering. The Chaver is offering a proof. And the king is totally shocked. He says, where is the proof? Looks over here, looks over there, and he doesn't understand. Where is the proof for what you're saying? But again, the reason why the king doesn't see the proof is because of what? He's stuck where? He's stuck in this cosmopolitical perspective on the world, on the cosmopolitical perspective on religion. He's stuck on the perspective of there's one religion for everyone, one religion for the entire world. But if you start looking more specifically, more into details, and you start looking on human beings as human beings and not as systems, you figure that what? That there are families, that there are branches, that there are nations. And a lot of nations have what? Traditions. If a nation, if a family has a tradition, what is stronger? To see a family with a tradition? You know what? I can give an example on myself. I was 3 years in the States. The first 2 years I didn't go to a Thanksgiving meal. The last year, I did go to a Thanksgiving. Last year, I went to the Faber family. They lived just beyond my backyard for a traditional Thanksgiving meal. I was amazed. You know why I was amazed? Not because I didn't know what's happening over there. And watch a lot of TV shows that described exactly what is Thanksgiving. I was amazed because it's different from hearing about it, even watching a show about it. and actually to see it in your own eyes. Turkey, marshmallow, a lot of marshmallow and pies and a lot of stuff that are considered to be traditional for Thanksgiving. When you see a family that actually has a tradition that is stronger only from hearing about it, you understand a tradition is not a tradition, it's a real lifestyle. And when something is a lifestyle, you start to realize that what? You start to realize that there is a reason for the lifestyle. As a Jewish rabbi that came from Israel, I never truly understood the significance of Thanksgiving. Until I did what? I saw families that truly, really celebrated Thanksgiving. You understand what I'm saying? When you look on the person, when you look on the details, and not on the world as a world, you can see a lot of times how traditions or facts become life. And life is the strongest proof for everything. Let's finish the mashal and you see exactly what I mean. So, the Chaver is asking the king, if you would see and you will see in your own eyes all the miracles of the king of India, would you believe? You will see it in your own eyes. And it will happen to you. The Kuzari says, Umnam ken? כי אז יהיה הספק הראשון אם עונם יש לאנשי הודו מלך מסתלק ממני ואז הייתי מאמין כששלטון מלך הודו בפקודתו נוגעים לי. He would say, yes, I would believe the king of India because I would see people that actually serve the king in India. What happened to them? ואם היא שלחה אז השואל למלך הזה ואמרתי תאר. And if someone will ask you on this king, what you will see on this king? So he says, ראשונה, in the beginning, באותם התארים אשר בעלו אצלי מתוך מה שראו עיניי. First of all, I would tell him what? On everything I saw in my own eyes. ואחריהם, and afterwards, בתארים שתלתי בהם ספק לפני זה, and all this stuff, I wasn't sure if they're true or not. אחרי כן בערו לי ידי אלה. But then I truly believe because I saw in my own eyes people that something happened to them. So now the Chaver says, ומעין זה שבתיך כאשר שאלתני אתה. That is the way he answered to you. ובדומה לזה אמר משה בפתח דבריו בדברו אל פרעה. And that's the way Moshe said when he spoke to פרעה. אלוהי העברים שלחני אליך. The God of who? Of the עברים. My nation has sent me to you. רצונו לומר אלוהי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. Moshe comes to Paro and tells him, I'm not coming in the name of the universal God. I can't speak in his name. Everyone can speak in the name of the universal God. That's not the perspective that will obligate me. I'm coming from the name of my family, from my own traditions, from my own experience, from my family experience. You want to know what obligates me? What gives me the power to behave the way I'm behaving right now? My family, my tradition, my heritage. My heritage, not the national, international heritage. My personal own parents. כי היה דבר אבות מפורסם אז באומות ונודע כי עניין אלוהים נתחבר עמם והשגיח עליהם עשה נפלאות. ולכן לא אמר לו משה לפרעה אלוהי שמיים וארץ שלחני אליך ולא בוראי וברכה שלחני אליך. וכן פתח אלוה בדברו על כל עדת בני ישראל. Even God started this way. אנוכי השם אלוקיך אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים. ולא אמר אני בורא עולם ובוראכם. God said, you know me. You know who I am? You experienced me. You know me. We have a relationship. וכן פתחתי אני והשיבי לך 10 כוזרים. And that's the way I answered to you. כאשר שאלתני לאמונתי בהודיעי אותך מה הדבר המחייב אותי. When you asked me, what obligates you? ומחייב את כל עם ישראל. It obligates the entire nation. דבר שנדבר לבני ישראל בראשונה על פי ראות עיניים. ואחרי כן נמסר לאיש מפי איש בקבלה דומה למראה עיניים. And then was told a generation after generation. And over here, I want to stop for today and say, there's one word that can summarize the entire answer of the Kuzari. It's the entire difference from the Kuzari and the philosopher. You know what's the word? Exactly. Imagine Tuvia Topo, Chaim Topo, standing in the middle of Broadway with long beard, the big hat. It says, tradition! Yeah, that's the word. That is a total opposite from the God of the philosophers. That is what? Based on what? That is based on analyzing and finding God. In some way he says, I never found God. I have tradition. I want to stop over here and next week we'll go on. Yes, Yaakov?
So according to the Kuzari, wasn't Avram's original discovery of God?
We'll speak about what happened exactly according to Kuzari. I can give you a hint and say according to Kuzari, also Avraham had tradition. But which type of tradition, we'll need to speak about it in the future.